Patterns. Let's talk about patterns. You
Yes.
said you were open to pretty much most or any colors, and we'll talk about that and why we're going to
Yep.
limit the color palette, but you don't have any that are showstoppers for you. Tell me about patterns: plaid, polka dots, random, floral, whatever, stripes.
One floral. Everything else is kind of one color.
Okay. Do you have a preference in terms of the patterns moving forward? Do you want to wear solids? Do you like patterns? Do you care about patterns?
I'm open to both. I'm neutral. It really, yeah, it'll depend on like whatever I feel good in. Like sometimes I like wearing the flower, like the in terms of responses that I receive when I wear like the pattern shirts, gain more traction.
So patterns are really interesting because
I feel like it kind of limits you, but that's me.
the thing about patterns is that an interesting pattern, and by interesting I can mean as simple as like a floral pattern on a
Yeah,
female or male, doesn't matter. Floral
yeah,
pattern. People will give it a second look because it's not just another solid out there. It's not just another black whatever, that someone's wearing. Patterns also, especially a colorful pattern, and by a colorful pattern I mean not black and white, for example, right? Like I
right,
mean like a pink and green,
yeah,
Hawaiian shirt, whatever, or whatever patterns you may have.
yeah,
Bolder, colorful patterns help create a message and an impression of being inviting, welcoming, approachable, friendly, etc. Those types of things have been very important for my clients who are like physicians or like
mhm,
meet and greet with a lot of people as part of their careers.
right,
I would say that patterns may not be a key part of your style given the goals. If that
okay,
being said, if we see kind of a cool, subtle pattern on something, let's say we're going to ignore it.
yeah,
But your messages that you want to send are not that like, it's not that you don't want to be approachable and friendly, but there weren't your goals. Your
yeah,
goals are to have a pretty strong presence.
yeah,
And it's also when you think about it, like, so uniforms are so interesting because of all that comes with a uniform. There's a reason in the military y'all don't have like kittens on your uniforms. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like that,
yeah,
there's a reason for that. So there's a reason you have a solid colored ones, and then there's like a reason for camouflage that has a whole lot to do with function. So like uniforms are very interesting in terms of like our interpretation of them and what we get from them before anyone has said a word to us, right? And like my example, just because I have no experience with the military, but I have a lot of experience with like flying commercially, is like, what if the pilot rolled up in like his yoga outfit
mhm,
and the flight attendants were wearing what they just wore to the gym? We would be like, oh hell no.
yeah,
We would get off that plane so fast, like
right,
not acceptable. So, so you, I think, because of like, the fact that you've had so much of this military in your background and it's like part of your personality, which is fine,
yeah,
you like that strong presence that comes with your clothes.
yeah,
So I think that what I'm going to propose, and you'll see this in the Pinterest board I created, is a pretty like robust mix of solid neutrals. So
okay,
we aren't going to be seeing a lot of like reds and oranges and things like that. It's going to be olives, blacks, navies, and grays.
okay,
And then if we see some patterns within those color palettes, that can be something that we consider. The reason we want to discuss color palette and limit that is because your brain works as for uniform. So the more that your color palette is restricted, the easier
mhm,
it is for you to literally like close your eyes, pull two things out of your closet, and they're going to work together.
mhm,
So that is a part of uniform dressing that I think will make you feel better about like not having to overthink things and have things be ready for you,
yeah,
but also give you the freedom in the sense that you're not having to actively wear like a military uniform, so you can have
right,
the freedom of like choice right now. But because it's almost like, again, this goes back to the style muscle. You went from 0 to 60, right? You went from here's what you wear every day to wear whatever the heck you want every day. It's like, wait, what? So we do want to put some constraints around that. And ultimately that's going to give you more freedom because you're going to be able to work within those constraints. There's a guy I follow called James Clear, and he's not a stylist. He writes about habits and things like that. But one of his quotes that I love is that constraints drive creativity. And I find that's very applicable to styling because, and this goes back to what we talked about, exercising your style muscle. when you have clothes that represent who you are in your closet and you have them in a color palette that plays well with one another, essentially, you practice creating those outfits again and again. And it really opens up to limitless potential, not a constrained potential, because you're going to be like, oh, I could actually try this with these jeans and that different bow tie or whatever if you want it to be. And so the more you practice with what you have, the better you get at it, and you're building a wardrobe. And that is ultimately the goal here for you, because you are not someone who wants to go spend your time just buying things when you get bored.
Right. No, I got other things to do.
You've got other things to do.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that color palette? The olive, black, gray, navy?
At first, I was like, here we go. Like, we're flat again. But as we were talking about, it's what I want. Talking about it out loud makes sense. That focus, it allows me to attack or action what I need. And that goes back to the whole, weapon piece of clothing that I'm talking about. Because it's not weaponizing my clothing for other people. It's internally like, just go.
Exactly. And the thing too is, and this is the style part, this is where footwear is going to become important. This is where different washes of jeans will become important. This is where layering will become important. And what could potentially be more important than patterns, and not to like totally dismiss patterns, but it's going to be textures and textural contrasts. So like light wash denim versus like a raw denim, a more like of a heavier tweed finished sport coat versus like a linen sport coat, or like a standard like wool garbadine, I can't even say that word right now. A suede shoe versus like a leather shoe. I think suede style like shoes, tie shoes and chukka boots, and we'll talk what those look like, are going to be crucial for you. So your uniform may be limited in color palette. And again, I know it's a very like standard color palette, but what will be good for you is that there's going to be the different pieces that like interchange with one another.
And that's exactly, and I've said this for a while. I am okay with breaking fashion rules or accepting fashion, but I need to know what I'm breaking when.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And the whole thing, and this is really, really true with menswear styling over women's wear, but I do like it as a guidance that's universal, is you literally cannot break the rules until you know what they are.
Right.
And that's 100% true. And this is where I invite you to bring in the bow tie. And that's not really breaking a rule, so to speak. But people who wear bow ties are remembered. And yeah, for
so
you.
I didn't mean to wink, but like I was like, yep.
That's it. They're remembered. And the way we're going to do that without it being a college professor is meaning you're going to be wearing it with a, one, not a traditional like white button down shirt, but you are going to be wearing it with jeans always, casual shoes always, and then some form of a jacket that's not, we don't want to put you in a corduroy jacket with the patches on the elbow, because honest to God, people still dress like that in the collegiate world. So
I see it.
You see it. You do. They're still there. So we want to avoid that. We want to come up with that look. And I think that the thing that I really took away, and you'll see this in a moment when I switch over the screen, that I liked about the influence from The Rock and from Justin Timberlake is that it's interesting that, first of all, it's interesting because, The Rock has that classic mesomorph body, right? Like he's the ultimate one, right?
Yeah.
And then Justin Timberlake's clearly an ectomorph. So I think that's kind of funny. You've got the like duality of like their influences. But there's also, and this is what's going to be fun to do when we get into your closet and shopping, there is an element of what I got from looking at Justin Timberlake's style of what I'll call sportiness, for lack of a better word. And what he's really mastered is the art of like the slouchy sporty look without it going to completely sloppy.
Yep.
And I feel like that for you is a little bit of that element that's going to be, I don't even know if we want to call it like the breaking the rules, but doing something that's like a little unexpected or non-traditional, but still makes you feel all those things you want to feel about your style. So we're not going to just strictly keep you in button-down shirts, blazers, jeans, shoes, go. We're going to find that balance of that sportiness for you, and you can talk through when I show you the pictures and be like, yes, no, maybe, like which elements like resonate with you.
Perfect. No, I'm like, I thought I was excited before, and now I have to sit down because I'd be through the roof. Yeah.
Awesome.